Welcome to the Imperial Truth. I'm your host, Eric, and I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and look at this Warhammer preview show. I don't normally do this stuff, mainly because my time recording at a decent audio booth and mic is limited. But these are really good previews, and I'm very excited for a lot of them, even though I won't be picking up probably any of them. They're still really neat, and I like the trajectory of the way things are going. So we're going to start off with what I'm most excited about, and that is the Red Corsairs. So if you're not familiar with the Red Corsairs, they were originally the, I think, Astral Claws under Huron, who is still currently their leader. And they had a little bit of a disagreement about taxes in the Imperium. And the Bad Ab War campaign is one of the coolest aspects of kind of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Again, if you're new to this, or if you're not entirely familiar, this is a campaign that was created by the now sort of no longer around Forge World side of things, and they created an entire campaign, and I believe even created the Astro Claws and the Carcharodons and there's another group that I'm forgetting. Everybody's going to yell at me in the comments, and that's fine. Yell at me. It'll come back. But there were several chapters that were made just for that campaign, and they released special models for it, and it's a very neat sort of idea in terms of like our scope and scale. And this was, I believe, before the Horus Heresy was a thing. So this was like historical wargaming in space, the first go round. And so following this not terribly disastrous dispute about taxes, Huron and his guys picked up their ball and went home and fled into the Eye of Terror, where they became the Red Corsairs. And since then, they've been sort of the mustache twirling boogeymen of the setting, where they'll come in and do something nefarious and then run away and leave, being good piratey people. And we used to have a Huron Greyheart or Blackheart model that was okay. It was a pretty good model. But we're getting new ones. We're getting refreshed stuff. So we'll go in here and look at them. So I have not kept up on the Huron books. Apparently, this is the retinue from his books. We have a captain. I should look these up, but I'm going to get them out of order, so we're not going to do them. But we've got the captain of his ship, an apothecary, an alien, a couple of aliens, a couple of dirty Xenos. We have the corpse master. We've got over on the right, I think that's Kadar Garrix, who is the executioners. One is a Mantis Warriors. So Mantis Warriors was another one of those chapters that was pretty much made for the story. So we've got sort of a lot of lore here. The librarian model over on the right has the old librarius marking on its tabard, which is interesting. And instead of purity seals, have sort of like other types of writs on them. So I really like that. All of these models are phenomenal. This would be a kit just to get to paint up and do conversions with. One of my friends messaged me and said that they want the captain model up here in the upper left, for their Solar Ox army, and I can see that. That's a really cool model. We don't normally get apothecary, aside from Fabius Bio, of course, models the for the Chaos Marines. So having an apothecary is pretty cool, because obviously they have apothecaries. They have to harvest gene seed just like regular Marines do, and definitely need that role to be filled. But we don't have a model for it currently. But yeah. I think we'll get a close up of Huron in a minute, so we'll talk about him in a minute. But as somebody who plays Chaos Space Marines and has played Chaos Space Marines for a while, getting an apothecary model and doing a little bit of conversion to make it not one of the Red Corsairs would be pretty cool. Would be pretty easy to swap that out. The executioner guy with the axe in the bottom left, Again, love that sculpt and probably would use that as my master of executions model very readily. The Chaos Sorcerer model is just top notch. And again, a little bit of a staff swap. And suddenly he's not a Chaos Sorcerer, or you just make him a uh, Imperial Fists Chaos Sorcerer with that staff, and just say he's left over from the Great Crusade, and he was one of the Imperial Fists who Rogel Dorn was like, stop practicing sorcery, and he was like, nah, screw you, dude, and left. You could definitely do that. The alien model is just great. I love the shotgun, the power fist, the little dog thing, just great looking. Top notch sculpts all around. These guys have so much character and are so great. Very much liking them. The Huron Blackheart model itself has gotten some trash talk online. I think mainly because of the head, but the head is what sells it for me. So if we're going to sort of look at this model from a design perspective, especially not knowing where we're going with the red Corsair models below, I like, the fur, the cloak. That's all classic Chaos Space Marine. His talon, his like bionic arm that has a built-in flamer is just a great reimagining. The original model, I think, has him sort of with his axe behind him and the fist and ahead of him, kind of throwing the flames out. And so this is very much an homage to that. I think I read somewhere online that he also wears not power armor, Terminator armor in some of the books. So that's interesting that they chose to keep him in power armor. The backpack detail is great. I love the little flamer combustion engines and dial. He has an Eldari rune on him, which is pretty cool. The only sort of complaint I have with this model at all is we seem to see these uh, wires or cords with Chaos Space Marines a lot that have the breaks inside them, and I've always painted them as flesh. Here they're painted as just wires. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't go into battle with like frayed wires and stuff on me if I was the Chaos Lord of a warband. I get the ones where it's like literally flesh kind of subsuming the mechanical parts of the armor. But Huron Blackheart's not that sort of a Chaos Space Marine. I just noticed he's got soul stones on his belt too, which is really cool. Lots of great details to this guy. And last but not least, his face is so good. I'm I would be I would really love it if this model came with a helmeted version, so that somebody is going to part with that face, because that face would make an amazing face for a Centurion model for Horse Heresy, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's a perfect bionic face. It's got so much character. It's got the depth of details enough that some loser like me can paint it up and probably do a pretty good job. Very excited for this model. It's a very nice model. We can kind of take a better look at these guys. This guy's looking down maniacally. I love the sort of corruption of his what's it called, the narthecium. It's definitely a surgical instrument, definitely not surgically clean. I love the fact that the Corsair on the ground is clutching the guy's robes, so it is not dead when he's being harvested. Also very cool. I don't know anything about the lore behind the retinue, but it does make me want to kind of go through and read the books now. I wish we had a secondary picture of the executioner guy, but very cool. Almost Chaplin-esque, I guess. If you know where this guy comes from, like the backstory, feel free to share it. I'll probably go through and read the books at some point, but that's pretty cool too. Like I said, the sorcerer, just outstanding sculpt. Really like this model. Overall, just very good. I love the kind of beastman skull on the kind of worked around the typical Chaos Space Marine backpack. And we're going to talk about those backpacks in a minute, because the Corsairs have me feeling some sort of way. Here's the captain model. Oh, just noticing she has a bionic leg. That's great. I love it. She just looks great. Very menacing, very pirate captain-esque. Um, uh, Very cool model. And last but not least, we've got our dirty Xenos over here. I'm not sure what type of dog that is. I want to say that they have blink hounds in the setting, but these are probably callbacks to like Rogue Trader era guys. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, overall, great retinue, and they look amazing. But what really made me make this video are these guys. So these are the Red Corsair Raiders, which, as far as I can tell, are brand new sculpts. These are not sort of additions to the Chaos Space Marine or Chaos Legionaries kit. So the the Nemesis Claw and the other warband that had all the upgrades for the Chaos Space Marines. Both of those were just upgrades to the typical Chaos Space Marine things, which is it's fine. But they're not new models aside from like additions. But these guys are brand new, and I want to say, where have you been all my life? These are outstanding. They look like renegade raiders. They look like pirates. I love the mismatched armor pieces. So the guy that we're looking at right now has two different marks of armor for his legs. I also like the fact that we have no chest emblems and no chest decorations whatsoever. In addition, we don't all have the same backpacks, and I don't know enough about the backpacks to recognize the marks. I apologize. I think the one on the right now, that's a Mark II backpack, and some of the other ones that are here actually look like they might be Primaris backpacks. So Mark 10. The Chaos backpacks, the one that you're seeing in the foreground, I don't like that design. I think personally that the Chaos Space Marine models should, at least like the Legionary models, should be dominated by essentially your Horse Heresy era armors, right? Spoilers to a video that's going to come up. I'm rereading the Carcharodon books to put together the video on them. And even in there, they talk about most of their armor is, at least in the first two books, most of their armor is Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV, Mark V. It's because it's so old. Um, so yeah, like it's interesting that we don't see that more among the Chaos Warbands and see this sort of mismatch of different marks of armor kind of put together to create stuff. I really like this, and I would love it if Games Workshop would sort of lean into that maybe at some point 20 years from now when we get new Chaos Space Marines and really lean into this like their mixed marks. I love all the Eldari stuff on these guys as well. Lots of trophies from stuff. My only complaint here is that they are leaning into the pirate stuff enough that it would be hard to make these guys into Chaos Space Marine models. But I think I'd have to see the kits, but you could probably do it if you got the Chaos Space Marine box, the Nemesis Claw box, the other one that I can't remember box, and then these guys. You could probably make some really cool kind of back and forth sculpts with these that looked really unique to whatever your warband was, which is why I'm so excited about them. So again, kind of getting into these guys, we've got this guy's got a bionic arm, which is pretty cool. We don't see that a lot. I'm not a big fan of the gloves, gauntlets type things, but that's fine. I like the fact that they're wearing rings. It's if you're not familiar, sort of before currency was really a thing, wearing your jewelry was the way that you carried your wealth with you. And so, these guys having rings sort of on the outside of their armor and stuff is really cool. Like I said, I'm pretty sure, again, correct me if I'm wrong, those are Primaris backpacks, right? Like those are Primaris power packs, which is pretty cool. We get some more of, I think, with the Mark II backpacks in it. I just love all the different aspects of these guys. The chest plates are just, they're killing me. I love the big open areas where you can just put decals and make these guys whatever you want them to be. They look really good. I'm really blown away by these guys. That head, that bionic skull is fantastic. That just isn't a sculpt that we get very often. It's sort of a half mechanical, like adamantine or adamantium kind of skull. This guy's got the Corvus pattern, beaky helm with the Primaris backpack, and I forget what the mark was when they did the bonding studs. Is that Mark IV when they put all the bonding studs, or Mark V, I think, when they did all the bonding stud stuff. But yeah, so this is great, and this guy on the right has sort of a chaos backpack as well. So just man, knocking it out of the park with these guys. Outstanding sculpts. Again, kind of getting into not to get into like model design too much, but as somebody who paints, there's a lot of detail on the new models that can be really overwhelming to paint. And I like the fact that these guys don't tend to have that. Like they have gear on their belts, but it doesn't feel like there's an inordinate amount of trim or an inordinate amount of details that are here. Also, as a note, I just noticed that their bolters all have the insignias kind of filed off. They don't have any insignia on any of their weapons, which is again really cool. Just loving these guys, and I think that they're great. Yeah, and Games Workshop can feel free to send me this box whenever it comes out, so I can review it on my channel with my 600 subscribers. But yeah, again, this Reeve Captain just killing it. This guy is so great. I love the sword. I love the fact that we can have. Is this one model with two different? Yeah, it is one model with different options. I love the Corsair style sword. That head is it's great, nice and expressive. If you don't want to go with the head, you can put the helmet on him. Again, not chaos looking, but definitely sort of in that vein of it. Looks like different backpack options too, which is great. That power mace looks fantastic. Just 10 out of 10 on this model. Absolutely killing it with these things. And then we also get the Red Corsair upgrade spurs, which are available. And we're not going to look through all these because these are just the typical Chaos Space Marine models with the new spurs. But let's pause real quick to just look at the amounts of sort of extra things that you have to paint on the Chaos Space Marine models versus the guys we just looked at. And you can see right away what I was talking about with that sort of design mentality where there's just so much to paint on your basic level guy that it almost detracts from the painting in general. There's so much going on. Like in a still image like this, they look great. Or in a golden demon level like competition, they're going to look great. But on the tabletop, you're going to lose a lot of that the silhouette and the what's it called, the sort of readability of the model. Whereas I think the Corsair models, they just really read quickly as what they are. So yeah, just gonna throw that out here. But we do get a lot of things. We get bandoliers, which I love. We get some trophies. We get, of course, your shoulder pads, a bunch of different styles of chain swords. It's an interesting thing to have them go without their gauntlets. But again, like I guess they're Corsairs. If you can't find a gauntlet, you can't access it. And you don't get it. So, but I really like these. These are good. I still think that the core Corsair models, those Raider models, knock it out of the park. But yeah, this is 10 out of 10 release. Super excited for this, even though I probably won't go out and buy them. But if I said earlier to someone that if I was starting Chaos Space Marines over again, so if I was wiping the board clean, I think I would build the majority of my warband with those Raider models, and then use the sprinkle in some of the parts from the Nemesis Claw and the other Chaos Space Marine kill team, and kind of like make those specialist guys out of those, and then probably come back and do the like possessed guys on their own as well, and just sort of lean into that. Like if you're a regular Chaos Space Marine, you're kind of a schmuck, doing your own thing, don't have a lot of upgrades, don't have a lot of mutations and all that stuff, and then delineate really hard between that and the obliterator models, which we'll come back to in a second, and the possessed and things like the warp talons and whatnot. But yeah, just Chaos Space Marines, man, are getting lots of nice releases lately, and I love it. I It's great. In addition, we got some more Corsairs because that's outstanding. And yeah, these look really good. I haven't played Eldar since fifth edition, and I haven't owned or painted any Eldar since then either. But these are really nice models. If they ever do Exodites, they will probably drag me back into Eldar, because that's really what I get excited about, is that kind of concept. But we've got Prince Yarel, the Iandan leader, Iandan, right? Is that their? Does it? I'm sure they mention it. Um, but yeah, so he is sort of a pirate captain of the Eldari. Uh, I don't like this model. I'm going to be really honest. I love the shield that he has, sort of the force shield that he's got. The spear is great. The back banner on a leader model that is a pirate, I just can't get behind. I understand why they're doing it, and it looks neat. I love his coat, but again, this is one of those situations where like the paint team, which by the way, when I criticize the GW paint team, they are technically better painters than I will ever be. I'm not. That's not what I'm criticizing. I'm criticizing sort of the color theory. I don't like the cloak with the blue cloak with the blue armor. I understand it's uniform and whatnot. Honestly, kind of a reddish cloak would have really popped well against that blue armor. Yeah, it's fine. I don't like the back banners at all. I love the helmeted version though. Holy crap. That helmeted version looks good. It reminds me, it's very evocative of the Avatar, the new Avatar of Cain model. Kind of gives those vibes. So very much liking that aspect of him. But yeah, he's good. He's a good model overall. If you like your pointy eared elves, that's great. These guys are very cool because they have sort of a Dark Eldar Scourge vibe to them a little bit. These are, what are they? They're Sky Reavers. So they're another winged flying Eldari variant, but they look great. The poses are dynamic. The sculpts are good. I don't know anything about these guys aside from they're just elite shock troops, I guess. Sorry, I should have read through all this beforehand because I don't recognize these guys. Looks like you can take power blades with them and different pistols. They're fine. I like them. They look great. I'm just not a fan of sort of the this style of Eldari model. So if I sound less excited, that's why they don't these. I don't. I look at the Corsairs. I'm like, man, would like to pick those up, but I really shouldn't. And I look at these and I'm like, these are really cool. I'd love to face them and whatnot. But I don't know. They're just not. I don't know. They look cool. They're definitely neat. Sorry, I should be more excited. I am very excited about this guy though. If you are an old beard like I am, so I've been playing this game for 30 years. This is I don't know if it's intentional, but this is very evocative of the old style of Farseer. So this head with the big bug eyes was one of the original Farseer models, and this just looks great. This model is outstanding. I love the big oversized head with like the psychic hood on it. That's very similar to what we got in sort of second edition Rogue Trader era type stuff. His little sword off the back looks outstanding. This guy is fantastic. I would seriously consider getting this just to paint it and kind of play with different aspects of fabrics and sort of the bone, the wraith bone and whatnot, and mess with techniques painting this. We get a new Viper, so a Viper and a Starfang. I'm not sure. This is maybe the Starfang version. This kit is older than my kids, so it's an old kit, and getting a refresh is really cool. And it looks like we can build two options. One with essentially tank cannon. So that turret on top is basically the same turret that you have on the Fire Prism, except I don't think the Fire Prism has a person sitting up there firing it. So this is, that's a I don't remember the name of the gun. But it's like their big anti-tank gun for the Eldar. I don't play Eldar, and I haven't played against Eldar in a while. But yeah, that looks great. It's good looking. The design is similar enough to the previous versions, though, that I don't know that it reads as new. Which is, I mean, it's fine. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, it's cool. And then looks like there's the new Viper, I guess. So that's pretty cool. Is that a rear facing turret? That's a rear facing turret. Interesting. Don't know how I feel about that. It's cool, I guess. And then we get Corsairs, and these guys, they look really cool. I'm not as excited about the flying guys, but these guys look really nice. These are great sculpts. Honestly, if I was building an Eldari army, I would maybe use these guys as just sort of my basic troops. What are they called? The Guardians, or the Storm Guardians, because they just look great. They look outstanding. I don't know that I'm a big fan of the kneeling pose with the two swords, but everything else looks great. And it looks like maybe you can take like a sniper rifle and some special weapon options. Outstanding. Very good. 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 release. These guys are great. Love them. Now let's get into the Horus Heresy side of things. So we are getting two releases in here that are previewed, but the big one is the new Legio Custodes model. So the Custodes models are a little old and a bit aged at this point. We're going to get a box of them. It looks we could get 2 units, and a shield captain, a dreadnought, and a tank. It's a pretty good Custodes battle group. That's probably close to 2,000 points worth of models right there. I haven't done the points for them, but that's a lot of chunk for your Custodes army. And these new models are great. Again, I'm not a Custodes player. I don't really like the aesthetic of the Custodes. I think that it's really hard to get the golds to read in a way that looks good outside of just pictures. But I mean, one of the advantages to Custodes is that you can just basically paint them gold and red, and then dip them or brown wash them, and they're gonna look great, right? So they're done, and you only have to paint like 20 models because they're Custodes. But these are great. That the they look very Guardian-esque, and we'll come back to that in a second. And the proportions are good. The old Custodes proportions were always a little bit sort of wonky. But yeah, these feel a lot more sort of appropriate in size. They look very menacing and ominous. They look tough and brutal. My only complaint is that they are very static. And in the lore, we're told over and over and over again how as much as humans watching a Astartes fight and are just like, holy crap, these things are superhuman in every sense of the word. The Custodes are described as fighting very similar, but versus the Astartes. So the Astartes look at the Custodes and are like, these are apex predators. We should be worried about these guys. And these poses don't really give that to me. This is very much like we're standing in the throne room poses. That's the only complaint I have about that. But otherwise, these are great models. I love it. They capture all the dynamic aspects of all the aspects of the Custodes that we would expect them to have. The ornate golden armor, the cloaks, the big head plumes, and things like that. And yeah, they look phenomenal and will be nice replacements. Interestingly, it was pointed out on another stream that it specifically says in here somewhere that you could run them. Yeah, so you could the Warhammer 40,000 fans noticed that you could use them for their army as well. That's that's interesting that they're doing this because normally they don't like crossplay. And for them to be like, hey, you could also use these in your 40K army, is just it's really interesting that that's called out. These are the custodian sentinels. So I guess you get one of each in the box. These are with swords. It's been pointed out elsewhere that the guards are their ammo for their bolters. That's kind of that's it's stupid, but it's stupid in all the best ways that we have for 40K and Horus Heresy. It is the most ridiculous, over the top. I love it. Yes, it's completely impractical, but it's also fantastic. So again, these guys are great. The shields are outstanding. Those shields are amazing. So there's a lot going on here. I know that I'm kind of contradicting what I said with the Corsairs in terms of detail, but I do want to point out that as somebody who paints and who tends to paint pretty fast, if you came into these and base coated with some gold and some brass, basically picking out enough of the different colors with different shades of gold that they read as different features, like they've done here. And then you picked out all your browns for like your leathers, and then your reds for your cloaks, and did some very basic highlighting on the textured fabrics, because there's a lot of depth to the fabric that we would want to call out, right? So let's say you do all of that stuff, and instead of doing white on the little tabard things, we're going to do yellow. And I mean, hell, if we're going to do it, do your skin tones too. Um, you could very easily then just wash this model with a brown wash, like an Agrax Earthshade wash, and pretty much be done. So you be base coat, very simple highlight on some key areas, and then wash, and more or less done. And then you could just pick out, your steel metal. You probably want to highlight the flesh back up and maybe highlight some of the cloaks back up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that would be a really easy way to paint these. I'm not encouraging people to paint like do do a halfway job on it, but these guys could, despite the amount of detail, you could paint these up really quickly with the right techniques. So yeah, these guys are great in terms of the way they look. And honestly, I would just do helmeted versions everywhere if we're trying to paint them fast. Yeah, and then pick out some gems and some glowy bits, and they would look good. And they're going to read well at the table level as custodes. I don't like the Custodes vehicles. I just don't. I don't know what it is about them that I look at them and I'm just like, whatever. So if you like this sort of thing, that's cool. If you don't, it's fine. You get one of these vehicles in your box. It's fine. I don't know. I do like I guess we're gonna get some more images of it. It's great. I mean, it looks like it's supposed to. I think it's because they read to me as like Star Wars vehicles, and I just don't like that aesthetic. But I do like this dreadnought. This is outstanding. This is a great looking model. Again, I'm never going to play Custodes. I'm never going to build this army. But this is a phenomenal model. This has strangely more dynamism to its pose. It's got more movement than any of the Custodes models that we looked at above, which is strange because it's a giant hulking robot. But yeah, it's great looking and fantastic. I love the fact that we get this like huge guardian spear thing with literally a gun on it, which is pretty cool. And we've got the sword and board version. Again, great. Not as much movement, but still more movement somehow than the shield guys up there above us. And then we get this great shield captain model. Man, that's a fantastic sculpt. This is another one of those that like sometimes I get tempted to just be like, well, if I just buy this one model and paint it up and just try my hand at it. I would want to do something other than all gold everywhere. So I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I love the fact that we have inscriptions on the inside of the shield. So if you're not familiar, Custodes, they every time they do an amazing deed, every time they sort of win the Medal of Honor, they get another name. And So they get to add a new name to their litany, and then they inscribe those names sort of in their armor. I think it's as like a form of protection as well as just a piece of honor. So, you know, once you run out of room in your armor, then you start inscribing on the outside of your armor or on your shield. So this shield captain has obviously like been good enough that they've inscribed a bunch of names onto their shield to represent who they are. And man, that cloak looks amazing. Just goodness, this is great. I love the female head. So if you're not familiar, we've been introduced to the idea that there are female Custodes in the Imperium, and there always have been. So there's been this is another one of those retcons, I'm totally on board with it. Honestly, I think they should have retconned in that Primaris Space Marines can be women too, because that really lends to this like, well, we're only harnessing 50% of our population, and Call was like, you know, that's impractical, so we're going to make female Space Marines too. I think that would have been the way to do it. But we do have this sort of we I don't come at me in the comments. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't know that we had like a definitive we can only have female or male Custodes previously. It's just that all of the Custodes that we had prior to about 2 years ago were male. And then there was, I think, there was a short story, and a female Custodes was mentioned in there. I think in the Space Marine 2 game, there's a female Custodes. In the not in the Dropsite Massacre book, but the Era of Ruin book, the new Scouring book. There's a female Custodes, and so they are working them in and sort of changing that lore to represent this. I'm all for it. I think it's great. I don't have any problem with there being, you know, female versions of plastic models on the table. You know, I if you want to make an argument, and this is maybe going to lose some viewers, but that's fine. That's you can do whatever you want. I would make the argument that like Space Marines aren't really male anyway. They don't reproduce the way you know, human baseline human males reproduce. They don't. They're, as far as we know, they can't reproduce that way. They don't seem to have the same sort of spectrums of gender and sex that we have as baseline humans. And so I would make the argument that all Space Marines are trans because they're not conforming to gender norms as set out by society by definition. So like there's that. And maybe that upsets some people, but that's like it's a silly argument to have when we're talking about toy soldiers. Like it's just a silly argument. If you're not familiar with the Eldar lore, the Eldar have these aspect warriors and the exarchs. I think that they're like the leaders of no. Yes, maybe the exarchs do it, and then there's one up, the Phoenix Lords do it too. But basically, what happens is if you're an exarch of a Howling Banshee group, you have given yourself over so much to that identity of the Howling Banshee that you've basically lost yourself. So the Eldar have I know Custodes, and we're going to go down Eldar lore. The Eldar are so like hyper focused on things that they literally have to cycle through different paths in their society so that they don't lose themselves and sort of hyperfixate and lose themselves in something. And so that's why they kind of go through all of these different steps so that they can kind of keep their minds clear and like practice different disciplines. And, you know, they live for thousands of years. So it's okay for them to spend, you know, a few hundreds of years learning to become a specific type of warrior. The thing is, though, that it's called out, at least it was called out years ago, that not all Howling Banshees are female. And just like not all striking scorpions are male, you join the temple and you put the armor on, and it looks like female armor, but you could be biologically male, for as being an Eldari, in there. And then if you lose yourself, if you're male Eldari and you become a Howling Banshee and you lose yourself down that path of the Banshee, you basically subsume your identity is subsumed into that of a Howling Banshee. And so, like, by definition, you're now trans because you identify as a woman, but biologically you were a male Eldari. And that's been in the lore for 30 years. So, like, it is what it is. If you're upset about this stuff, I mean, be upset, but like, it's this is these people exist and they're in our society. I'm one of them as a non-binary person. So sorry. And if you're, gender non-conforming, you're in the community, welcome, and happy to have everybody of all stripes here. But yeah, so there's my little rant. These guys look pretty cool. I'm gonna steal a line from Rob from the Honest Heresy, and just point out that he's kicked the crap out of the Sanguinary Guard. So rip Blood Angel players. Maybe you can find somebody that'll give you these backpacks for your Sanguinary Guard, so they can have wings. But these guys look great. It looks like they're wearing much lighter armor, which I also really like. Yeah, the only thing I would do with these guys is, well, I mean, I don't know. It would be kind of fun to put them on bases that let them go a little bit higher. But they're great. It looks like we can get like a shield and weapon option and a two-handed weapon option. So some great options with builds here, and of course, always new bits that we can throw in for other kits as well. But yeah, these guys are outstanding looking. And another tank, and I told you how I thought about their tanks. I guess this is a tank and a transport. They're fine. They're great. Not my cup of tea. Never gonna get excited about their tanks. I do want to go through one quick rant that really upsets me, and it's not like a huge deal. It's not the end of the world. They do mention that the assassins are going to be in this book, and I think that's crap. I think that's garbage. Assassins can be allied into any loyalist army, so they could be militia, they could be Solar Aux, they could be Mechanicum, they could be Custodes, they could be Sisters of Silence, they could be in Astartes. It is absolutely asinine to lock them behind a book purchase. That's just ridiculous. What they should do is just let that online. Just leave the assassins online. It's like 20 pages of rules, and just let anybody bring an assassin. Games Workshop, if you're listening to my 600 member channel, you will sell more assassins if you make the rules free. If you lock the rules behind a book, people are just going to pirate the rules. I'm not going to spend $50 or $60 on a rule book to run one assassin that costs $35. Like, that's just ridiculous. And I say that as somebody who has 3 assassins and is running 2 in an event coming up. So there's that. The last thing I want to point out is this. I'm also very excited for this. This is if you're not familiar, in 40K, they're running these, they have these different setups or settings that they're adding. They're book sets. Actually, let's look at the book set real quick. So this is the Tyrant book set. So they have the 500 Worlds, which just came out, and then they have this one, which is they're 4 books. I have no idea how much these are going to cost. I'm not playing 40K at the moment, so I'm not going to pick any of these up. I'll just buy them at a used bookstore in 2 years for $10. But yeah, they're campaign books. And what I want to point out, what I think is cool in here, is that in this book, there is this Raid and Ruin thing, which it looks like it's sort of a campaign thing setting, and you can create your own character, and you have notoriety points and stuff that you can do. And so they gave some ideas of things that you could make. as your little characters that run around and fight in the world and get points. And I think that's so cool. I am all for any situation where we can customize a character and introduce them into a setting and play games with them. I love that idea. But yeah, so we have the 500 worlds now. We're going to have the lair of the Tyrant, and then they are revealing that there's another one called the Eye of Terror. And again, I don't know if I've mentioned this. I play Chaos Space Marines, guys. So like I saw this and super excited about it. We'll talk about what I think is happening here in a minute. But yeah, so I mean, obviously, Iron Warriors reference. This is definitely part of some sort of tech marine. But we just got a Warsmith, a Warpsmith model. So I don't think it's a replacement for the Warpsmith model. Yeah, I don't know. This looks like a weapon or a welding torch of some type. So if we're trying to speculate on what this is, and I think I know what it is in a minute, but we'll get there. We got this big hammer, so that suggests Warsmith type thing. I think that there's two different models being previewed here. That's what's happening. This is definitely the model that's carrying the hammer, almost certainly. Which yeah, I'm very excited to make a guess on this one. This is not that model. I don't think that this is the same model. And these look like Forge Fiend backpacks. So if you look at the back of the Forge Fiend or some of the other Chaos war machines, we get those there. We have a big honking claw option as well. And this is not an arm. Like when I first saw this, I thought this is an arm. I don't think this is an arm. I think it's attached to like a leg bit. And we were, yeah. So there's that. This is definitely an arm. And this is a mutilator, guys. This is definitely a mutilator or an obliterator. It's probably just the obliterator. So the obliterator sculpt is a little bit old, and there are two monopose options. So we're sort of due an obliterator resculpt at some point. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. And this foot is just straight out of the obliterator kit. So if you look at the current obliterator model, that's that foot. So what I think is going on, I think we're going to get a few Iron Warriors or like Chaos Space Marines Soul Forged Warpack options. And if I had to guess, I would guess that we will probably also get a Perturabo at some point. So I think we're going to get a Perturabo, and I know I've said this before. I said it's kind of a joke, but I actually don't think it's a joke. I think we're going to get a Dorn coming back. And the reason why I think we're getting Dorn coming back, I know there's a lot of push for like Jagatai Khan, and there's a prophecy in one of the like, and maybe we'll go through it at some point and talk about it. There's a prophecy in the Space Wolf. There's a whole bunch of Space Marine books. I forget they're on there. They're not like a series, but they're in the same group. It's got Apocalypse, which is a great book. It's got there's a Dark Angels one, a War of Shadows, War of Secrets. Maybe there is which is pretty good actually. There's of course Devastation of Baal, which is probably one of the best 40K novels, period. Yeah, there's just a number of them and they're good. And then there's a Space Wolf one, and I hate Space Wolves, and it's hard for me even to like. It's bad. It's a wolfy wolf. You know, you're barking by the end of the book thing. Like literally thinking about the book, I can smell wet dog hair. It's not a good book. But there is a prophecy in there that is about the Primarchs coming back. So maybe I'll go back and reread at least the prophecy, and we'll do a video on Primarch returns just to kind of have some speculation. But if we look at sort of the dynamic of the storyline, and I said this in a previous video, so if you're not interested in it, that's fine. We got Gilliman coming back, and he reforged the legions through the Primaris project, and very much has united the 500 worlds, and has definitely does have a legion behind him. And then we have the Lion come back, and he also reunites the Dark Angels as sort of a legion behind him. And then, so if we look at who can do this, because again, when the traitor Primarchs have come back, we have sort of like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Chaos Space Marines were Chaos Space Marines. We didn't have this like Thousand Suns being their own thing, Death Guard being their own thing. That just wasn't the way that you ran Chaos Space Marines. You could build your warband, but it was all Chaos Space Marines. And so Games Workshop has very clearly been bringing back different Primarchs and sort of reforging the legions. I think working towards an end times type situation, to be honest. And if we look at sort of who makes sense to bring back, who's going to reforge their legion, we do have the Last Wall protocol with Rogel Dorn, and we have in the one of the more recent Black Templar books, Dorn maybe appears to one of them in a vision, and so I think it would be really cool. In a world where Gilliman is really struggling with the idea of the Emperor as a god, which he is. That's a major plot line of the Plague Wars books. I think it'd be really great to bring in Rogel Dorn in all black armor at the head of an army of a legion of Black Templars. And he's just absolutely committed to the Emperor as a god. And you know who would be a really great foil for putting up against Rogel Dorn is Perturabo. And Perturabo has been working with Vashdor, and Vashdor is all over the place. So I think it makes a lot of sense to see Perturabo come back at the end of this edition. And I really do think that we're going to see a Dorn at the end of this edition, or maybe at the beginning of next edition, as they sort of push that plotline forward. If you're curious, I don't think we're going to get Leman Russ until the end, the very, very end, because of the Wolf Time stuff. Yeah, we'll see about the Khan. I know that he's a favorite for people to bring back. He just doesn't bring a legion with him. That's the problem, is that you need, at this point, it looks like they're reforging legions, and he wouldn't do it. Same thing with Vulcan. I don't even think, I mean, we don't know where Vulcan is, but I don't think that we'll see Vulcan for a while either, because I think, and I'll leave you guys on this spoiler. So Vulcan created the sigil of the seven hammers, I think, something of the seven hammers, which is basically a doomsday device that will destroy everything in the Sol system. If the Emperor dies, or if somebody on the throne activates the device. The only person that knows how to activate the device is Vulcan, and the only person that can probably fix the Golden Throne, which is breaking right now, is Vulcan. So I think we'll see Vulcan come back sort of like partway through the end times thing to sort of stabilize the throne and tease this, like, we're just going to blow everything up. I don't think they're going to blow everything up, but I do think that we're going to sort of end up with a new Great Crusade, Horus Heresy 2.0, not Horus Heresy, but Great Crusade 2.0 type thing, 10 years into the future, where we have all the Primarchs back and all the legions back, and we're reconquering the galaxy and that sort of thing. I could definitely see them doing that. But overall, great previews. Very excited for some of these things. Like I said, I'm probably not going to buy anything on this preview, but I do think that it's kind of cool to see them, and they've really knocked it out of the park. Those Corsair models are just outstanding. All right, so that's it. I'm going to shut up now. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in our next video.